Hi, my name is Liz Wolfe. Thank you for listening in today. I am a coach for entrepreneurs and I help people to get unstuck so that they can launch and grow an abundant business. I want to thank you for listening in today. You can find me online at lizwolfcoaching.com. That's Liz Wolfe with an E. And getting unstuck is exactly what I want to talk about today. And actually what I really want to talk about is the perception of being stuck when actually you're not really stuck. Here's what I mean by that. Yesterday I was speaking with one of my clients, one of my coaching clients, and he said, things are progressing, but they're not popping. And another woman that I was speaking to this morning said, things are moving along, but I feel like I'm pushing everything else out of the way in order to move those things along. And what I want to say is that we are trained to believe that business both is exciting and fun and that if we work really hard, things are going to happen. Things are really going to pop for us. The reality is that is not always what happens. In fact, there's a lot of work that gets done where it doesn't really feel like you're making any progress at all. And you can get somewhat discouraged, overwhelmed, feel scattered, not sure know what you want to work on next. And it has a general sense of feeling like things have slowed down and they're not moving forward. So there's a couple of dynamics that I want to make sure that we are being aware of, because that's the work that I do as a coach. I help us to make distinctions between what we think is happening and what is actually happening. So for Christmas this year, I got an arrow garden, and if you don't know what an arrow garden is, it's a water, like an aquifer water garden where it has its own sunlight and you put these pods in and the water is in there, so there's no dirt and it grows tomato plants. So we bought it, and first it just sat there for a really long time, maybe 2 months. I didn't do anything with it because I didn't know how to proceed. And that is one of the ways that we get stuck as entrepreneurs. We're like, I don't know how to do it. So that's one thing. I didn't know what to do. So I had to open the box and read the instructions and get it all set up, and finally figured it out. And of course it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was a little bit different. I had to read the instructions. So once I knew how to do it, then I planted my little pods in there and I put the water in, the food plant started, and then I waited for a really long time. Well, it felt like a really long time. It was maybe 7 or 12 days. Nothing was happening. It didn't look like anything was happening, but something was happening. And what was happening was that those seeds were germinating. And then one day, pop, out came some seeds. And then I was like, wow, that's amazing. Now, no tomatoes yet, but it had those little seeds. So then it also, I saw the progress. I saw them growing, but it didn't feel like I was really producing anything. I kept adding the water, I kept adding the food, and it kept growing. And then sure enough, over time, it did start to get bigger. But the thing is that the growth sometimes is so slow that you don't notice the progress from one day to the next. So that's the second thing that I want to say. Just because it doesn't feel like you're making progress doesn't mean you aren't making progress. So I often will say that I'll say, just because it feels like you're making progress doesn't mean you are, and just because you don't feel like you're making progress doesn't mean you aren't. So sometimes we've been trained by this marketing and everything that's out there, like go from 10 figures or from 0 to 10 figures in 1 month, and it's all these ways that we're expecting things to explode and get big. But that's not how nature works. That's not how things work. So the way it works is it slowly gets bigger. And then one day I looked over and there were buds on there. So it was starting literally to bear fruit. Of course, the buds come first. And now I'm looking at them going, okay, I'm waiting for the tomatoes. I'm waiting for the tomatoes. So it's going to feel that way in your business. You're going to do a lot of work and feel like you're not making any progress. And you're going to then see some progress and then want it to move faster. A very wise woman that I used to work with, a mentor of mine, her name is Marilyn Grayman, she used to say, things take the time that they take. And it's very hard to live with that sometimes. Now, one way you can see what your progress is to take note of your progress, to celebrate those small wins, to celebrate where you've been. So in reference to the man that I was speaking to yesterday, he only started his project a year or two ago, maybe not even 2 years ago. And it was a very ambitious project. And now he has people working with him. He has interns. He has people paying attention. He's doing press releases and webinars. And it's this fabulous thing. But from his perspective, he's in it each day. He's the tomato plant getting a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. So it's hard to gauge your progress. That's one really great reason to have a coach. It's part of my job to watch your progress, keep track of it, and see that progress that you're making and reflect it back to you. And you can do that by creating goals and then looking back to see, what did I do? What didn't I do? Be accountable. And you will notice that you have created a lot more than you think you did, because it feels the same every day, often. And then every once in a while, there'll be like, there's a bud. So now I'm looking at these blossoms going, okay, I'm seeing more and more blossoms. When am I going to see a tomato? That's the next thing that I want to see. And of course, that's what we all want to see. We all want to have the tomato, the client, the money, the reward, the whatever it is that's coming in that we're working so hard for. So I want to remind you, to recap, number one, things take the time that they take. Just because you feel like you're not making progress doesn't mean you aren't. But you can notice your progress if you take the time to notice it. And you can go back. We're now at the end of a quarter. This is being recorded at the end of March 2021. You can look back. What did you say you were going to get done this first quarter? And then look forward and set out some things that you want to create in the next 30 to 90 days. And that will help to keep you on track. So the last thing that I want to say is the experience that you have, the emotions that you have about how you feel about how you're doing in your business are often misleading. So it can be disappointed. You feel like you should be further along than you are. It feels like you worked so hard and you're not seeing the progress. So keeping the faith is one thing. And I don't mean to sound, like, just keep the faith. That's not really what I mean. What I mean is keep going with the path that you know that's working. Get support and feedback from other people. You can, of course, always reach out to me, lizwolfcoaching.com. You can set up a time to speak to me on my website. I have plenty of time available on my calendar. Set up a business strategy session with me and get support. So if you're listening to this and you know me at all, you know that I am available through coaching, and I do group coaching sessions as well. So that's available to you. It's all on my website. Please find me there, reach out and let me know. And just keep in mind, things take the time that they take, and they will begin to bear fruit soon enough. All right, thanks for listening. Once again, Liz Wolf, lizwolfcoaching.com. Love to support you in your journey. Please reach out, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks.